and today we're looking at understanding media research using ratings, audience measurement data for competitive edge. And the guest speaker is Mr. Olayiwola Afolabi. Who is Olayiwola Afolabi? I'll leave that for Regina to tell us. But meanwhile, I'll just tell us a bit of Regina, who is going to be our guide, our moderator for today's program. Mrs. Regina Chris Obodo is a broadcast journalist and experienced online personality. She's a facilitator and trainer on diction, elocution, presentation, and public speaking. She's also MC and compare and voiceover artist. She's worked with Kiss FM 98.9. She was former head programs and presentation at Business Television. And she was former head news and presentation and programs of WFM 97.1. She's currently the CEO of Reggie Panache Training Consult, and of course, coordinator of BGF A Word a Day, which is a pronunciation drill that we have on BGF. She's popularly and fondly called Reggie Panache. So I'll hand over to Reggie Panache to guide us through this program. Regina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Obama, for that introduction. I am really honored. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just right for us to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on the time we are logging in. I'm sure some of us are outside the country, if I'm right. Like it's been said, my name is Regina Crisogodo, so I'll go straight on to the business of the day. We already know that today we were talking about how audience ratings is very important in a competitive, to give us competitive edge and guarantee maximum results in investment as far as media research is concerned. I'm excited and thankful to the organizers for giving me the opportunity to moderate today's program. By the way, I think it's just right to say Happy New Month. Welcome to my birth month. It's March, so let's march. Okay, so to begin with, I need to read a little bit. I'm not going to be able to read everything, the profile of our guest speaker today. It's quite long. And sir, please, you just have to bear with me as I would cut a lot of what I know is your pedigree. Okay, let me read a little bit of it. Mr. Olayiwola Afolabi holds over 2.5 decades of extensive media planning and buying, advertising agency practice, and marketing intelligence experience in Nigeria. He's worked for locally based advertising agencies with international affiliations such as Sunrise, is it Darkrai or Darcy, as well as Impact Plus Limited. Most recently, he is the executive director of Media Planning Services Nigeria, MPS, a company put together by the advertising industry in Nigeria to provide scientific media and marketing planning database and software for industry usage. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome this powerful Timban caliber personality. I think we are privileged because I like the fact that was it in the flyer, it was written that it's what we would have bought or paid for that we're given free. So ladies and gentlemen, keep your ears open, your eyes open, and of course your hand working as we listen and learn from this great man. I relinquish the microphone to you, sir. Welcome once again to our BGL series.
Thank you very much. Yes. And good morning, everyone. In a couple of minutes, we should be discussing understanding media research, that is using ratings and audience measurement data for competitive edge. For today's session, I'll be focusing more on radio. Now, that does not mean that we do not have information on other media, such as TV, press, and so on and so forth. But for today, I will focus on radio. In a couple of, we'll spend a couple of minutes sharing on these headlines. The first one is we're going to be asking. I'm going to be asking the question: what exactly do radio stations? What do they market? Hello. What do they market? Audiences or their channels or stations? The second thing we'll be looking at is understanding listenership habits. And we're going to be looking at that from two different perspectives. First, we'll start with media consumption. Then we'll look at the channels reach by location. Now, for this, the database that we provide is basically two. The first one, which is our flagship, is the one we call the All Media and Product Survey. That's the survey that we do once every year. And that cuts across all the 36 states of Nigeria, urban, semi-urban, rural. Now, the second database that we provide are basically two. And the first one is the Television Audience Measurement Survey, the TAMS. Then we have the Radio Audience Measurement Survey, the RAMS. The RAMS and TAMS are limited to 17 states plus Abuja. So for the purpose of this presentation, I'm just going to be taking an area or a state to exemplify some of the things that I'm going to be talking with. That's not to say that we do not have information for the other states. It's just because of time. Then we move on to data management. Under data management, we're looking at what are the expectations of people who buy stations, who buy time on stations. What do they expect? Then we move on to what exactly are the things that drive the decisions to buy. I will share what I think are helpful tips, then conclude. Okay, let's start with some definitions. What exactly is ratings? We've had so many. Okay. Now, let me just go straight. I'm giving you two classic definitions this morning. There are other definitions. The first one is a rating is a measurement of an advertisement's audience, recorded as a percentage of the original targeted audience. For example, if the target audience of an ad is 100 households, but only 30 of those households tune into that ad, then the rating, so to speak, will be 30%. The second rating, the second definition, by the way, which I like, what my old teacher would call an operationalized definition, is ratings is a figure, or ratings are figures based on statistical sampling, indicating what proportion of the total listening audience tuning into a specific program or network. Now, if you look at this, the slide that is on now, these are representations of households, either watching TV or listening to radio. And somebody said, Sanderman, by the way, said, advertisers buy audiences, not channels or platforms. And the key to that is data. Now, when you look at what radio stations market, most of them face the perennial challenge, which basically is how do they present their products and services effectively to advertisers, advertising and media agencies. And please note that in this selling process, each sector is faced with the challenge of responding to the demand on both the buy and sell sides, which basically means that at some point in time, everybody, either the advertising agency, the advertiser, media agency, or the stations are buying or selling. What is more, today's cross-market channel, cross-channel marketing in the area of plans rely heavily on understanding who the target audience is and how to reach them effectively. The import of this slide is the two lines captured at the base, which says that today's marketers buy audiences, not media. Nobody's buying the station because they like the building, the compound, the logo, the color, or whatever. They are basically buying the station based on the numbers that you can put on the table. And note that today's audiences do not follow contents, not stations. That's why you find that no typical listener to radio or viewer of TV stays on one channel for 3 hours, 2 hours. They are basically moving from one to the other, which means that they are following content. Now, to surmount this challenge, broadcast media owners must understand the important relationship that exists with 3 key factors. The first one is the services they provide. The second is the marketplace they are providing the service. And the last but not the least is the use of information, that's data, to enhance better presentation and ultimately better market share. Now, let us consider that all owners of broadcast media, they know that the businesses they are running cannot survive with 2 key things. First, effective and clear reception. And the second, good quality programming. Now, if these 2 are not available, or if these 2 are not on the table, there's no inventory to market. So, I think that this question that I'm going to be raising would come during question and answer time. So I'm basically saying that radio stations, the first challenge they have is how do they determine the signals and their reception level? Why am I asking this? Several years back, before technology took us to digital radio, you would be tweaking the knob of your radio set to pick the specific station you want to listen to. And if you are not satisfied with the fidelity or the reception you are getting, you keep tweaking. But as you all know, today's technology has moved beyond that. Once you switch on your radio set, wherever, it starts searching for your dial number. If your dial number does not lock, it effectively means that you are talking to yourself. Therefore, the first major thing that any radio station must get right is what's called reception. Because if your reception is not right, then you are not doing business. No matter how good your content is, you are basically talking to yourself. The second question I normally raise is, how do radio stations determine the most commercially viable program to put on air, or indeed any program at all? And I'm specifying this as at when they started. I'm sure you all know that when a radio station starts, they are rolling out with a rate card. The question is, the rates on those cards, how did they come about it? Are they able to say that the particular time is prime and the other is not, given that they've not been on air? The third question is, which is closely linked to the second one, is the basis of classifying their inventory. And the last question is, how do radio stations define who their target audience is or are? For example, if in Lagos, let me just take a radio station as an example, Lagos. The question is, if you take a Wazobia, who is the Wazobia person? The radio station must be able to determine its target audience by demographics and by psychographics. Because when you target right, then you are able to allow buyers, media planners and buyers situate your station with specific brands based on targeting. Now, I just get this slide just shows you the reception claim of some radio stations in Abuja. This as far back, this is an old it is as far back at 2022. And if you look at that slide, you find that the #1 radio station there is Human Rights, followed by Capital FM, followed by Wazobia, Cool FM in that order. Now you find that the #1 radio station, which is Human Rights, as at that time, only 83% of listeners claim that they can receive that radio station clearly. So ab initio, 17% of listeners are claiming that the reception of that radio station is not clear, which means that in terms of audience numbers, the topmost radio station in terms of reception has lost out in that area. Now, what is averagely acceptable is that a radio station that is transmitting in any area should be oscillating in terms of reception clear and fidelity between 90 to 95%. So apparently from this, from the research and results, we're finding that none of the radio stations in Abuja is close to that. Okay, maybe you say that Human Rights is close at 83, but that is not what's the key word now? That's not what is expected for you to be able to leverage very well on listenership. The next slide takes me to profiling. Now, what I've done is to take the profile in terms of listenership of one radio station in Abuja, and this is as of January this year. Now, and the radio station I profiled is Wazobia FM. And if you look at the table, the top part, there are two parts divided by the gray line. That gray line, the top part is a reflection of what the radio station is by profile. And the rows below is a reflection of what the radio station is not. The first row shows the mean, where you find that under 16 is 9% as mean, and the score of Wazobia is 11. So in that category or classification, Wazobia is over and above the mean. So you find that this is basically saying that in terms of gender, Wazobia FM for the month of January is a female-centered listenership station in Abuja. It's a social class A, B, and E in terms of social classification. And in terms of age, it appeals to under 16, 16 to 24, and 25 to 34 years. Now, this basically speaks to the profile of that in terms of listenership of that station in January. The below numbers are the numbers where the radio station needs to take a little bit more care and begin to work towards. That's if they want to, or if those parameters are within the profile that they expect to be in their listenership circle. So they may want to be looking at working more on the C class. Now, the mean of the C class is 51%. Score of Wazobia is 49%. So it's just roughly about 2% below the mean. This profiling is basically based on content and listenership. Now, to provide responses to some of the above, that's the things that we've been discussing, you find that the power of reliable and verifiable information becomes latent, as you can see. Because when you have data, you are able to structure and strategize properly. Now, for the radio or for the broadcast business, Three key features are the bedrock on which a successful and commercially profitable station is built. There are three. You get the three right, you're smiling to the bank. The first one, and by far the most important, is reception. The coverage quality must be wide, almost excellent. This is followed by content. Programming must be very good, compelling to the listening or viewing audience and advertisers. And finally, marketing. If you get your reception, your content, and marketing right, you would always be smiling to the bank. But the two major things to get right are reception and content. Because if you get these two right, people will still, based on numbers, patronize you. What marketing does is that it escalates and points people more in your direction. Now, to successfully exemplify reception and content above, you need data. You need reliable, verifiable data. Now, some years back, people used to leverage on, okay, my people tend to like this content, so it must be good. We've gone past that era some years back. Now, if any marketer of any radio station appears in any agency, advertising or media, and you are talking to them, the first question they're asking you is, what are your numbers? You must be able to put that on the table. Otherwise, you're on your own. Let's now move on to understanding listenership habits by media consumption. Now, under this topic, I'm going to focus on two areas. First, the first area is national. The second area is Abuja. And like I said when I started, I could do for the 17 plus Abuja, there are data for them. But for the purpose of this presentation, I've decided to focus more on Abuja. So let's start with national. If you look at the general habits of Nigerians generally, in terms of media activities, find that radio leads with 97, listen to radio leads with 97%. This followed by watch TV at 95, visit trends 91, made calls using mobile phones at 89, sighted outdoor at 88, and so on and so forth. Now, one thing I want to point out is that having worked at MPS for quite some time now, listening to radio has been oscillating between 99 to 96%. That must say a lot in terms of usage about that medium. Now, let's now crunch numbers. The first question here for Abuja, in terms of the first one is, how often do you listen to radio? And you find that listening to radio yesterday in Abuja is 77%. A few times in a week is 11%, daily 10%, more than once a day is 3%, and once a week is 1%. Where do people listen to radio in Abuja? You find that at home leads with 55%, followed by GSM phones at 47%, office or work 22%, inside taxi, cab or car 18%, and so on and so forth. Now, but there's something I want to point out. If we look at it a little deeper and more critically, you'll find that possibly GSM phone is actually the number one place or platform that people use to listen to radio most often. The reason I'm saying that is that there are people that are at home that are using the GSM phones to listen to radio. That accounts for roughly about 10 to 9%. Now, let's move on to the type of content or the type of programs that people in Abuja listen to. The first one is news at 58%, followed by talk show at 55%, musical at 48%, sports at 23%, political at 20%, and religion at 15%. There are other parameters I just selected to cut off at this point. Now, what I also wanted to point out here is that when you look at news as a program genre, you find that all manner of content are embedded in it. Fashion news, hardcore news, sports news, musical news, and so on and so forth. So if you are looking at type of content in Abuja, you may want to critically begin to think that talk show is the actual number one. Let's look at the days that people listen to radio more often in Abuja. Monday leads with 28%, Wednesday at 17, Friday at 16, Saturday 13, Tuesday 11, Thursday 9, Sunday 5. What are the type of medium or platform that people use to listen to radio? Number one is GSM phones at 75%. Now, the other is DTT. DTT at 14%, streaming at 4%, and other accumulated at 9%. Now, let me pause and address this DTT. This is something that most radio stations are not leveraging on now. Now, DTT means digital to terrestrial. But for the usage of media, of radio, you find that all your boxes, all your DSTV boxes, Go TV boxes, Star Times boxes, and so on and so forth, have radio channels. And 14% of people in Abuja are listening to radio through those boxes. So it's an indication for any radio station that is forward-looking to begin to look at that platform seriously. What are the times that people listen to radio most often in Abuja? 6 to 9 a.m., 66%. This is expected. Reason this is expected is that you find that across the world, most cosmopolitan cities are visual-led. Because of the hustle and bustle and the nature of lifestyle in those areas, people tend to want to see rather than listen. Or you tell them a lot. If you're telling a lot of stories, they just walk off because they are constrained for time. So in the 4 key cosmopolitan areas of Nigeria, you find that the lead time for people when they listen to radio is 6 to 9 a.m. The second time band is 9 to 12 midnight, 22%. 9 to 12 noon, 20%. 6 to 9 p.m., 11%. 3 to 6 p.m., 10%. 12 to 3 p.m., 10%. And 3 to 6 a.m., 7%. Language of broadcast. Sorry. Now, this slide is related to language of broadcast. But the question here during fieldwork was, which language do you speak in? That is, in your house, which language is the medium of communication? And you find that in Abuja, English leads with 28%, followed by Hausa at 15%, Igbo at 15%, Yoruba at 11%, TV at 8% in that order. So this says or points radio stations in Abuja in the direction of the kind of language they should be using or they should be leading their broadcast with. Now, let's look at understanding listenership habits, channels reached by location. Now, what I've done here is to show the performance of radio stations in Abuja by listenership as of January 2024. And you find that the number 1 radio station with 71% listenership is Wazobia, followed by Ray Power with 61, Info with 55, what's it called? Followed by Cool FM, Capital FM, Human Rights in that order. This is the listenership numbers of radio stations as of January 2024 in Abuja. Now, this slide that you're looking at actually shows the peak times in terms of listenership across 4 top stations in Abuja. And if you look at what's called Wazobia at between 8 till about let's say 11, leads with over 702,000 listeners. Okay. This slide shows you the listenership pattern of the audience every 15 minutes, 24 hours of the day. Now, this slide shows the topmost topmost listening to radio station in Abuja alone. So the radio station may want to look at this kind of graph to begin to do what you call program strategizing. Because you are beginning to ask yourself, if the dips are consistent, if where the station dips are consistent over a period of 1 to 2 quarters, the question the radio station should be asking is, should this content be on air? But that would have been after some critical reviews and support and strategic changes before that decision could be taken. Let's now look at expectations. My secondary school days, William Shakespeare says, expectation is the root of all ethics. If I expect something from you and I'm not getting it, it's a source of serious heartache. And what are the things that radio stations do that gives advertising media agencies, advertisers, heartaches? The very first one is the provision of accurate and usable stations on one hand and programs profile. Radio stations must begin to understand that when you are selling, you are not only profiling by your station, but you are profiling by your content. You are profiling by your content, particularly the ones you think are your flagship content. You are telling the buyer or the people that are patronizing you what are the demographics or psychographics of your content. What that does is that it makes it easier for the buyer, for the planner and buyer at the advertising and media agency side to be able to link your station as well as your content with brands. For example, if you have a content that speaks to this demographic profile, let's say 18 to 30, by gender, male, female, by age 18 to 34 years, by social class BCD in Abuja. And that profile fits or is a direct match to a brand like Coca-Cola in terms of profiling. You know that has made it a lot easier for the planner to say, yes, this kind of content should work with my brand, and so on and so forth. What most radio stations have done or are doing is that they are not particularly for their programs, they are not profiling right, if they are profiling at all. Now, if you check some other developed countries, you find that they have taken this profiling business to the level of visuals. They are not talking big grammar. They are just taking they're just showing the pictorial representations of the profile. They're just showing the representation of the profile. So, can this person, you are interfering with my thought process, please.
Please, can you please? Thank you.
So they've taken this to the level where the profile, where you are looking at the pictorials, you are able to now begin to situate what program would work for what brand. Then the second thing that radio stations do that gives people that patronize them heartache is the lack of consistent and relevant programming. I put a caveat there. I'm pulling the plug on running programs of episode during quarter. This is where I find that most radio stations, particularly OAPs and their management, are very disrespectful to their listeners. How on earth in a 13 weeks quarter, you by week 6 you just yank off a program? No explanation, no apologies. I want you to know that no matter how low the audience size of any content is, either by data or by whatever, there are these small people that are listening to it are maybe followers of that content. If you remove that content mid-quarter, what are you asking them to do? You're asking them to go, and they will go and never come back. So what I suggest is that please try as much as possible to allow whatever, no matter how irritating, no matter how financially debilitating that content is, please allow it to run the 13 weeks of one quarter. And before you remove it, I advise prep. On that same content, I'm sure by the time it runs to about 7 to 8 weeks, you will know that you are removing it. Then you begin to prep. You begin to tell your audience that this content will no longer be on air from next quarter. If you have a replacement, you start propping that one also. What you are doing is that you are showing respect to your listeners, which is very in short circulation now. The third point here is program schedule. I expect that once you have a program schedule, please follow it to the letter. If there are reasons to change, please inform well ahead of change time. Yes, there may be force majeure, but even at that, you still need to inform. And I also want to advise, and this is what I've seen, and I know, most radio stations put program, some, if at all, put their program schedule on their website, and they are not regularly updated. You should be updating them. The reason being that there's a major concentration of advertising and media agencies in Lagos. So instead of, if they are short on time to call you, they can reach out to your website and look at your content and begin to see which one they can use or which one they can patronize. The fourth point is reliable and verifiable technical information about. If you do not have data, how do you provide this? How? How are you going to be telling people who are buying what's the and by the way, when I talk about reach for radio stations people, it's not coverage, it's not the same. Reach for advertising and media agencies people is numbers, audience numbers. For you, please don't misconstrue it to be how wide and far your radio station gets you. Please don't. It's not coverage. Then the last point here is compliance. We did a study 2 years ago, and we found that between 40 to 45% of the legitimate earnings. Okay, let me rephrase. The compliance issue is a two-edged sword for the radio station and the advertising media agency. Now, we did a study 2 years ago, and we found that radio and television stations lose their legitimate, over 40 to 45% of their legitimate earnings to compliance. How does this happen? Let us look at it first from the radio station. An advertising or media agency gives you an NPO. Say, run for me 25 spots every day. Sorry, 25 spots every month, 12 months of the year. And you, for one reason or the other, 25 spots would amount to 300 spots, if I'm right mathematically, in 1 year. Now, for one reason or the other, you ran 250. Assumption now, ran 250 of the 300 spots. Another 50 or 60 of the 250 you ran was not run to time, to fixed time. I hope you know that as advertising and media agencies are giving their MPOs to you, they are also giving it to compliance agencies. And I know of two that are in Lagos. The first one is MMS, Media Monitoring Services, and the second one is Media Track. And the reason why they believe that more, they believe these two agencies more, is because it's their job to track you, to make sure that you run as booked. And the subscription to these compliance agencies are being done by the advertiser, not the media or advertising agencies, because they are using that cost, that investment, to make sure that advertising and media agencies do not dispense favors with their money. So when the report comes, they are likely to believe these agencies more than you when you send your COBs. So your accountant would have costed revenue based on 300 spots. And from the example I've given, you find that at the end of the day, you are actually going to be getting what's it called? You're actually going to be getting revenue for 190, because if I discount the 50% that you didn't run based on whatever, and the 60 that sorry, if I discount the 50 spots that you didn't run based on whatever issue, and the 60 that you didn't do to time, that takes away 110, and that leads you to 190. So that's a major loss for the radio station. And this is legitimate earning that was given to you. That's at the level of the radio station. Let's now come to advertising and media agencies. Now, it is even a lot more critical here, because let me paint a situation. Let's assume that the Nigerian breweries in 2023 did a share of 15. And they held a meeting with all their partners in terms of marketing communications, to say, look, this year, 2024, we want to move from 15 to 20%. What do we need? At that kind of meeting, they are looking at the marketing mix, the complete marketing mix. And in looking at the marketing mix, there are 4 things that are key. The first one is the product itself. The second is the pricing of the product. The third is the distributive channels of the brand or product. And finally, is communication. I hope you know that radio advertising is just one part of the communication aspect of the marketing mix. Now, let's assume that for the purpose of this discussion, that during the process of the year, what's it called? Price was right, product was right, distribution was right. Then the radio station that was supposed to run 300 did 190. I'm sure you know that at the end of the year, that 20% they want to achieve would not be achieved for one part not doing its job in the marketing mix. Now, these clients have a way of doing post-mortem. Let's say that at the end of the year, they did 17. The question now is, the 3% that we did not do, what happened? So they will sit at sessions or sessions upon sessions and to find out exactly what went wrong. And they will be able to trace to the fact that, yes, the radio station that was supposed to run 300 spots did not do it, but did 190. Oh, they will not say, oh, that's why we are not getting our 20. You know what they will do? The first thing they will do is to fire the agency that recommended you and bought you for them. Now, if they fire that agency because of your station, what do you think the station will do to you? Because the station that is that recommended you for the campaign may also have other clients. So not only will the radio station not do business with you on that business, it will also not do business with you on other businesses that is handling. What am I getting at? Ladies and gentlemen, compliance in this age and time is essential. It is very, very essential. and key for delivering advertising results. It's even now much more important than discounts, because you will give that anyway. So please, these are areas where you need to critically look at in-house and see where you can, to a large extent, plug whatever holes there are. I've gone ahead into two following slides to exemplify what I just explained. Look at the fourth one. This was what was signed off: 32 spots to deliver 434 GRPs and to achieve 70% at 1+. At the end of campaign, this was what ran: 22 inserts, less than 292 GRPs, down from 434, and 70% at 1+, 73% at 1+, down to 70% at 1+. So these are areas where this, by the way, are the kind of templates that advertising and media agencies use to generate what they buy. Okay, what are the things that drive purchase decisions? The first one is reception. If you recall, or if you have been following, you find that at every point we keep coming back to this reception. Let me stress again: the beginning and the end of the success of any radio station is reception. If you do not get your reception right, you are on your own. And it's not only getting your reception right once, you must have a structured system in place to monitor your reception at constant intervals. Engineers will tell you that radio reception is subject to the vagaries of the weather. One, subject to the vagaries of the physical structures available, and so on and so forth. And these are things that are happening. These are things that you do not have control over. So you must, as of importance and as of priority, have structured way of checking your reception at intervals. The second one is programming. The third is reach versus target audience, or target group, or target audience. The fourth is the economics of airtime and space. Now, let me speak to flexibility of stations versus creative media planning and buying. Now, I'm sure some of you will know that in today's business, advertisers and agency scope media buying people are no longer too fastidious or too excited about your before, in between, and after sports. They are even not so much fascinated now about your fixed sports. What they are concerned about is specific times that audience numbers peak. And when these numbers peak within an OAP's segment, assumption, let's say an OAP does a segment from, let's say, 10 to 11 with 4 different sections. It might well be section 1, which is maybe, I don't know how you want to structure it, maybe if you do it every 15 minutes. It might well be is section 1 that is from 10 to 10:15 that draws the highest number of audience. So an agency buyer might come to you and say, look, you know what? I want my material to run at 10:03 or at 10:07. I'm sure you know that you are putting premium charges to that, displacement fee, whatever percentage for fixed time, and so on and so forth. And what normally happens is that OAPs who likes to talk over that time, and the material that you are supposed to run at 10:03 runs at 10:05. I hope you know that you have not complied. The problem here is that OAP, and I appreciate their problem, is that some OAPs will say that those kind of buys or adverts distort their flow. My question to them is this: two, if there is no diesel to run your channel or your station, and there is no salary to take at the end of the month, that's your flow. Where will you be getting it from? Also note that the reason why somebody is saying break this OAP's show and run my material is because that show is resonating. That in itself, it's a plus for you. So please make sure that when such adverts are placed or commercials are placed, please let it run. Be very mindful of it. I know that there are some radio stations that have technologies that just cut people off because over the years they've lost money, so they have technology. So if the material is supposed to run at 10:02, let the OEP be talking whatever he wants to talk. He just cuts off at that time, and when the advert finishes, the OEP continues. But for those who do not have the technology, please make sure that you are mindful of this. And I'm speaking to the OEP and the compliance person in the station. We've talked about compliance levels, marketing objectives, communication objectives, media objectives. Now, on to helpful tips. And this speaks directly to the marketing department, but also to other departments. The first thing that you need to know is know your brand. You know your radio station by profile, by rating, by unique selling proposition. Let them, as in Lagos now, that has over 70 radio stations transmitting. Let there be 200 radio stations transmitting. A radio station will have something that is unique to it that the other 199 stations does not deliver. If it has not found it, it should look for it very well. It's there. Every person working the radio station, particularly OAPs, you know your program. Also know your station's program. Know it by profile and by ratings. Because you are not, salesmanship or selling the station is no longer limited to the marketing department. In most radio stations now, it is everybody that sells, from the head to the gate man or the gate person. Number three, know your inventory, know your costs. Now let's assume that you have somebody who's a front desk person at the radio station. When that person goes home, then they ask the person, where are you working? Assumption, the person says, I work at Wazobia. Now, let's further assume that sometime later, somebody comes to that front desk person in his area where he or she lives to say, sorry, this is Wazobia that you are working. What is the rate of the 30 seconds commercial of on a particular program? And the person goes, oh, I'm a front desk person. That shouldn't happen. What he says is that every person working the radio station must know the programs of the station and the cost of the station of advertising on that station. The second thing is know your competitive environment, who they are, what they offer, and how they stack. I know it's pretty much difficult now because I expect that an OAP that is anchoring sports on any radio station in Lagos should know every other OAP anchoring sports in the other 70-something radio stations. That can be pretty wieldy. But to make that easier, you can narrow your competition and say, first, who are the stations that are in my genre? And within that, who are the people that I really want to compete with? And those are the people you focus on. Know them intimately. And when I say intimately, I'm saying know them to the point that you may know where the person stays, what he likes, where he goes, things he does. What you are basically doing by that is that you are profiling your competition. And when you are able to profile your competition rightly, you may be predictive. And God help my competition if I can predict. And I can predict more precisely. So it means that whatever that competition does, I will always be a step ahead. Take this very seriously. Know your competition and your competitive environment. For the marketing people, know the advertising and media agencies and clients they work for, and the professional language. I gave an example earlier. The marketer approaches an advertising and media agency and says, look, the agency person asks, this station that you are bothering me with, what is your reach? And the guy goes, oh, we get to Republic of Benin, and so on and so forth. Obviously, the guy you are speaking to will just look at you and find a way to shoo you off. And once you are gone, the guy will definitely not have respect for you because you do not understand the very simple, basic question that is asked. When he's talking about reach, he's asking for your audience numbers. Last but not the least, execute deliverables according to contract. Miss sports versus media objective. Yes, sports can be missed, but they can only be missed if they are in very, very extreme circumstances. And if they are going to be missed, and you need to inform well ahead of time. If it's force majeure, you can inform immediately after it happens or as it's happening. Number two, make good. There's no make good. We can have a long talk or debate on this one. Can you make good for 11 a.m. today? It's gone forever. So what you are basically saying here is that please run the sports as booked and avoid. You can do make good for local sales, not for agency or not for media agency or advertising agency. What's it called? Sales, please. This is programming now. I'm sure we all know what interactive programming is. For participatory programming, what I'm talking about here is leveraging the advantage of technology on your program. Moving people from your social media handle to your station and from your station to your social media handle. And allowing engagement sometimes to drive your content. That's basically what I mean here. Now, in terms of the second point is the data you get now is given to you, or the results are given to you every 15 minutes, 24 hours of the day. Now, so if you want to do content analysis, for example, let's say that you are in an environment where there are 10 radio stations, assumption, and you find that at 8 to 9 a.m., your station is number 4 in terms of rank. The question now is those top 3, what are they doing? You can follow those top 3 stations for about 1 or 2, 3, 4 episodes, do off-air dub, sit in a session with your people and do content analysis on their content. Who is the OAP? What style of presentation? How is this content broken down? What exactly goes into it? If you do this strategically over a period of time, some information, you start gathering some information about competitive content. And that will point you in the direction of how you can strategically be maneuvering or rejigging your own content. 3, matching OAP's profile, program's profile, audience profile. This I will just be brief on it. Now, with all due respect, there are some radio stations that are, yes, this radio station give back to so many other professionals. Or it appears that people from these stations are people who are trainers or train the trainers. But most of those radio stations are guilty of something. You find that an OAP has been anchoring a program or a content for 15, 16, 20 years. No change. And you're assuming that the profile of your audience is not, it is changing. It is you as an OAP that must begin to, in order to resonate and engage with your listeners, you must live their life. Go where they go, understand what their language, their lingo, you must understand it. You must be in fraternity with the audience that you are presenting to. Otherwise, you will lose them. Number 4, program start times. Most radio stations are fixated with starting programs on the hour. You must start program at 7, 7:30, at 8, 8:30, and so on and so forth. Who says that? NBC obviously does not say that. There's no NBC rule that says that. Now, if I have a program that is resonating, and that if a competitive program is resonating, and I want to challenge that program with a like program, once I finish my homework, I can start my content 5 minutes, 10 minutes before competition. Get a 5 minutes or 10 minutes lead time. This has been tested, and we have found that when people who normally will listen to the established program start listening to your content, when it's time for that established program, not all of them will move. Some of them will find that, well, this program that we're listening to is good. They may find that it's good and maybe even better than the one they are going to, so they will stay. Unstable language or presentation. It is this OAP, the OAPs of this generation, this Gen Z people. Please pardon me. That do this. I want to speak American language more than the American on air, using what's it called, NTBB language on air. Forgetting that if you are natural and your content is good, it will resonate. It's not about any borrowed language or what have you. Inappropriate sharing of programs, NBC will not allow you. Everywhere I've gone in Nigeria to train, to talk, I find that family-related content resonates. Now, in this area of family-related content, let me now take a detour and say that also everywhere I've gone, I've gone to the west, the east, the north, and whatever, middle belt and not whatever. And one question that I always ask is, please, radio station, tell me the number of female-centered content that you have on there. The highest I've ever gotten in all my years of training is 2 hours. 2 hours in 1 week. These guys are forgetting that in 1 week there are 196 hours. If you divide that 2 hours by 196 hours, what percentage will it give you? And they also forget that all leading FMCGs lead their creative materials with the housewives. Do you think they don't know what they're doing? So that's food for thought for you guys that are there. Last but not the least, local related language or local related language content resonates wherever it shows its head. Now, I've been asked this question severally, so I decided to have a slide on it. What are the reasons that, or what are the reasons that may be accountable for audience shift from one content to the other? The first If you look at it, it's reception. If your reception drops and people will be listening to you are no longer able to listen to the content they like on that station, they move elsewhere. Others are when you, within quarter and without respect for your audience, change your program's format or layout, or change your OAP or anchors, or change your day of airing, time of airing. If you do all these 5 without respect, without informing, you are on your own. Last but not the least is competitive strategic effect. I just said something about 15-minute, what's it called? Content analysis leading to strategic change in content. Some radio stations now know their competition far more than they know themselves, because they take time to study and they'll be constantly outmaneuvering you if you do not do something about it. Last slide. Now, a research at 2020, a research was conducted at MIT in the US in the year 2022. And what was the finding or the import of the result of this research? It was found that some radio stations have data. They are exposed to data, but they don't use it. They just have it. They went a step ahead to check and found that radio stations that have data and leverage on that data in terms of usage to direct whatever direct whatever they do enjoy a 5 to 6% boost in productivity, audience size, sales, and what have you. Number 2, the research reveals a strong link amongst effective data management, content production strategy, and corporate productivity, and finally, financial performance. Number 3, companies that use data most effectively reap benefits in 3 key areas. The first one, they get increased return on investment. They get greater sell-through of the advertising inventory, and they have an improved level of engagement with their audience. Therefore, it is vital that in this business, understand the value of audience data. It allows you, in the era of clutter, in the era of law, create custom content that sells. What do I mean by this? Some radio stations are so patronized to the point that they are turning back ads. And they are reluctantly. And they are saying to themselves, why should we be turning back legitimate what's called earning because of NBC? So they started coming up with strategies to keep their earnings. So they started looking at custom content packaged for advertisers and sold at premium to offset whatever the losses may have been if they turned back adverts. I rest my case, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. 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 For now, that's all I can say. I'm just exclaiming, it's a rich presentation. I'd like to say a big thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm already happy that everyone is expressing by sending out emojis of thank you, well done, thumbs up, love, and every other thing that is appropriate to say thank you. Thank you, Mr. Olayiwola, for this rich presentation. You would agree with me that this is what paying for. And you can only get this in BGL free of charge. What an awesome moment. At some point I felt like, why I should have gone back to be the head of program again, because I want to implement all of these that he has explained. But before we move on, let me just say a little bit of some of the things that I personally got the very important thing, in case you're just joining me or joining us, I'm talking as if I'm on air. In case you're just joining us, we've been talking about how we could leverage the use of data. That's, I'm just paraphrasing, the use of data in this day and hour of competition, radio, television, social media. There is a lot of competition that some are wondering, some are really grappling on how to, to boost and to get a return for their investment. They're wondering. And I really hope and wish that some of us that are entrepreneurs, when it comes to media, I call us mediapreneurs, who would take these information very, very seriously. So Mr. Olayiwola, in the last 1 hour, talked to us on how to use audience ratings data to attain a competitive edge and to guarantee maximum returns on investment. And I can assure you that we have learned so much. Mr. Tony actually dropped some comments. Let me just read some of them in case you want to get a full, to get the whole entire training that we just had, because you came late. There are previous trainings that are already posted where you can click on the links so that you gain other important series that we have had in the past. I'm sure this would not be an exception soon, especially if you take advantage of joining us, you would have the opportunity of listening also to this very rich content, information that we've been shared. Okay, now it's time for us to ask our questions and make our comments. Please, let's just follow the instruction. The instruction is that you raise your thumb, indicate that you want to say something, your hand or anything, an emoji, just so I know you want to say something. And in case you don't want to speak, you could just drop the comment in the message box. I will willingly read out. So let me see how many of us at this moment want to ask questions. I think I saw a hand raised. If I'm not mistaken, a hand was earlier raised. I'm wondering who the person, I can't find the person again. A hand was raised. Please, could you please raise that hand again?
I raised my hand.
Oh, okay, Mr. Tony, go ahead. Please, let's not put on our mic until I ask you to. I'm the one in charge. Thank you.
Yes, with
So
my
that we just avoid the noise. Okay.
Ready?
Go ahead. Go ahead. I think it was
Okay.
your hand that I saw first.
Thank you. I want to thank Mr. Afolabi once again, just to reiterate what you said just now, that this is something ordinarily we pay a lot of money for. We know that. And I also have privileged information that Mr. Afolabi had to fly in from Kaduna to Lagos to be able to do with us, despite the fact that he's giving this free. So I'm really happy to see the emojis appreciating him, who he is and what he has delivered to us today. It's mind-blowing as I saw the decline right here. I'm happy to see some big station owners and managers here. I think that underscores the importance of this session. I saw Tosin Dr. I saw my sister Pauline Budaga. These are big names in AIT, in the AIT Repower family. They are here. I mean, that tells you that they really appreciate what is going on here. I wanted to ask Mr. Afolabi, why is it that Wazobia FM is performing way above many other stations? But when he gave us the drivers of chase, I mean, the things that make people to, I got an idea. But I would also just like you to summarize that, the things that make Wazobia FM to be up there. Does it have to do with the language? And the second thing is when he was talking about OAPs, my mind went to artificial intelligence and the fact that you now have AI DJs already. How is that going? How is that likely to affect ratings when you now have DJs and OAPs who can be on duty 24 hours without stopping, and we have programmed content that has been curated and vetted and targeted at specific audiences? Where are we going with that?
Okay. Are you done with your question? Because we
Yes.
lost you a little bit. Okay, thank you. Mr. Afolabi, it's over to you. Meanwhile, there have been a lot of encomiums being showered at you here. A number of people you might want to read. I will read them out to you. People are really excited, and I thank you, everyone, for dropping comments here. So I hope you heard the question, sir.
Yes, I did.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
Now, the first question is an unfair one. It's unfair because why would you want me to? Okay, I can answer some guess or some guesses on why Wazobia is doing well, and let me point in direction of one of the comments you made earlier, which is the language. The beauty of the pidgin language, and as other local languages we have, is that it is rich, and it allows you to maneuver room to maneuver as much as possible, and it allows you room for dramatization that engages and excites the audience. That's language of pidgin. Second, the quality of OAPs. How the OAP is able to bring to bear the use of that language to present. Then I must also tell you something about Wazobia that I know, and I may be is debatable. These are people who, you see, these are people uh, who look at data. Not only at data, they have several sources of other data. That's an organization that I know that's in love with data. And if you crunch numbers, if you do data, and you are able to interpret it extremely well, it helps what you do. And it builds some level of pedigree. So, and let me also say something, that if you look at the South, anywhere that Wazobia raises up his head as a station, it doesn't take them, to get the traction, that takes them between 2 to 3, 4 months. And they are out there. So that speaks to the language of pidgin and the other things I've said. But I don't know what other things they are doing, really, that is making them get the kind of audience they get. But whatever a radio station does, the key to the success of any radio station is engagement, which now takes me to your AI question. Please, I don't know how your AI technology wants to handle local languages. I hope you know that radio thrives on engagement. So how does the AI stations or stations that are leveraging on AI, how are they going to be able to handle that kind of engagement? Because I know that even artificial intelligence, if I want to throw it off balance, I can ask some successive what's it called, trick questions or trick comments that it will not be able to handle. What am I saying here? AI is not going to replace human beings. Business of radio is the business of human beings and people. So that's my take. I may be wrong.
All right, thank you, sir. Another question. I think I can see Mary Glad raising a hand. Is it Mary Glad, if I'm not mistaken? I hope I got the name correctly. There's a hand from. Please go ahead, unmute and ask your question, please. Are you there, sir? Or is it ma'am? I saw a hand already. I'm asking, and from what I can read, it's Mary Glad or something like that. I'm sorry if I. Okay, Mosi Bodi, I can see you.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you. Go ahead, sir. Wow. Is there any
Hello.
glitch from your end?
Please. Mr.
Can you
Chimaka
go
has
ahead,
been
sir?
forever.
Please mute your microphone. I can hear other noise coming in. Mr. Amuda, go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you so much. I must say that I really enjoyed, though I joined in late, but I enjoyed every bit of the presentation. But my question is this, and I think it borders on OAPs and of course the use of data. Now, it's also a fact that sometimes some of the data available to radio entrepreneurs in Nigeria, or to an extent, are also manipulated. And I've also seen situations where some entrepreneurs deployed this data and did not achieve the expected results in terms of content creation and all sorts. What would you advise in such a situation where you have tried utilizing the available data metrics, the media metrics, and you're not getting what you want to really get in terms of you're doing all the engagement you can, but you're not getting as much engagement as you want. You're not getting the visibility that you really need because there are other established media outfits out there that seem to be clouding you out. So, what would you advise that is done in such a situation?
Can I go ahead and respond?
Yes, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
So let me take the first one, manipulation. Now, see, even myself talking to you, as head of MPS, has been severally accused of manipulation. What I'm saying to the people who are saying manipulation, bring one evidence. One. That's one. Then two. The issue of manipulation, I don't understand, except you are a little bit more specific. Because for MPS today, I'm head of MPS. I know what goes into it. So except you're able to be specific as to one or two areas of manipulation, then I can respond more concisely to that. Then to your second question, if you started with my presentation, performance of a content, and even if you did not start, you will see the last slide, the second before the last slide I presented, where I stated some of the things that may be responsible for content dropping audience. Now, when you create a content and put it on air, the first question I'm going to be asking you is, have you checked your reception? How is your reception doing? That's one. Then two, I will further ask you, content creation for the audience is about the audience. Have you asked the audience what they want? Beyond the data you are seeing, have you asked the audience what exactly they want? And one thing with today's OAPs is they are blessed. And I'm saying they are blessed because there are several platforms on which they can actually reach out and get real-time good information to rejig their content. Let me paint a scenario. Most OAPs today will run a content 13 weeks first quarter, another 13 weeks making 26 second quarter. No feedback. No feedback. And I'm asking you, that content that you created, is it for you? If it's not for you, then I expect, as a content person, as an OAP, to take your audience a lot more serious. I would expect that an OAP that runs with a 13 weeks program should do first 3 weeks and pause, do feedback. Ask the people that are listening to you, this content that you listened to in the last 3 weeks, what are the things that you want us to add and remove? Do I talk too much? Do I play too much music? Would you want all manner of questions? They will respond to you for free on WhatsApp, on all your on some of your social media handles. They will respond to you. Let me just give one small example. Most radio stations put their content on YouTube and Facebook. Those comments on that, when you put those, what do you think they are for? For joke? No, there should be somebody harnessing that, harnessing the content, because they are pointers as to some of the things that the audience needs you to do. If you do this over a period of time, you cannot miss it. And if you are able to do this, I can assure you that data will pick it. Now, if somebody says to you that, let me go back to that. You do a 3 weeks program, you ask for feedback. Whatever you are able to harness, you use that to rejig your 4th week. There's no way to go but up, because you are responding to them. You do, then by the time you get to the 7th week, you pause, you take feedback, and use whatever feedback you've gotten to rejig your 8th week. Don't you think there will be changes? But you just run. Most people just run. 13 weeks, 26 weeks, 39 weeks to 52, or to 48. No feedback, no change. So beyond data that you talk about, you do feedback and see what will happen.
Thank you very much. Well, let me just read a bit of I think what I think should buttress what Mr. Afolabi has just said. A message from Lady Gwen. She said, there's something you said concerning that. You said, okay, let me read Mr. Aro Leo's. He said, I advise stations to forget about manipulation and focus on what they can do to improve. As head of media development at BBC Media Action, I can confirm that a lot of our BBC research tallied with MPS figures. So I think that's a serious matter. So Lady Gwen actually says, no serious presenter, marketer, and station manager should work without understanding media research. So these are some of the things that are, comments that are buttressing what Mr. Afolabi has just said. Okay, Mr. Chimanwako, very sorry.
I'm sorry, please.
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh, sorry, just before you go on, just one addition. Now,
Okay,
the data that we release also, there's a lot of misconception about it. When you see a station ranked number 1, and you see a station ranked number 4 or number 5, the station ranked number 5, if you do the curve, the listenership curve, may actually provide the advertiser and the highest, more peaks than the number 1. An example is Bond FM. I'm sorry to be mentioning this. That station has been number 1 like forever in Lagos in terms of rank. But what is making it number 1 is just 3 hours of the day. After that, that station can shut down. Whereas other radio stations like Cool, like Raper, like whatever, have peaks all through the day. Why Bond FM offers you 1 peak? A Beat FM offers you about 4. A Cool FM offers you about 5, and so on and so forth. And advertisers are buying peaks. So it is not a game of rank. It is a game of when you provide the advertiser the highest number of listenership. That's what they're buying. Sorry to cut you. I just needed to.
No need for that. Apologies. Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Okay. My lady. Okay, go ahead. Mr. Chima, I'm seriously sorry. I'm really sorry. Let the lady go first. Okay.
Can I talk?
Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Mary Gold, reaching you from Asaba Delta State, but I'm with Crown FM Onitsha. Okay. Permit me to speak in my own local language presentation that we all know as Pidgin language. I don't know if that can be allowed here.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All
It's
right.
allowed.
Okay, our speaker, bros, Olayiwola, Tuale to you. You try well. The talk when we say you yarn today, body totori me well. I get better licious informate, and the thing go take and take work well for my life as a presenter, a marketer, and a better voiceover artist. Thank you very much. I learned plenty things. And one of my boss there here too, Mr. Aro Leonard, that the Twale give you too. Not be smart. And my madam will also link me to here. Madam Tayo, thank you very much. At least this one a better breakfast now you give me this morning, but it authority me well. So for everything where you talk, e balance well, waka go well, kajad wella. But one question when I dey ask now be say, after we put on this all this data analysis, the digital every for ground as it's supposed be, you find out say at the end of it all na to make money enter your station. If you dey enter well, make you dey do everything well. But the money wey wan enter, you find out say other radio station dey cut hand, as in e dey make the prices dey come down compared to wetin be the normal prices wey you feel say an advert suppose be. So one of my first question now na be say, is there a standard as to the amount a radio station is supposed to take for a slot? Apart
Hmm.
from that, if there's no particular amount, wetin be the criteria wey we dey use check say okay, make a radio station balance a particular price? Like now we say okay, between from 2,500, 3,500, but you see other radio station giving as low as 1,000 to 1,500 or 2,500 to 3,500 for a particular slot. Meanwhile, making you that have a great content and everything and putting a price up there so that you can meet up with your daily needs. You find out say the money, both of them no dey waka well. Now most media houses, radio station, customers, and even agencies are going for the cheaper prices. Following the situation of the country these days, you go know say everything don increase, but most prices for slots never increase because media houses dey bring down the price down, and you no dey fit easy
Okay,
for us
thank
to
you,
meet up.
Marigold. If you like say you
Thank
don't
you.
talk and well, oh. As you
Yeah.
talk, I don't be small, but you don't expand them. Well,
Bros
so you go
understand.
understand. Okay, thanks for the code switching that you helped us to do this afternoon. Okay, over to you, Mr. Afolabi Olayiwola.
You see this one where you talk past me. Let me tell you. Let me tell you what I'm saying. So, the issue that you have brought to the fore should be an industry issue. You know, two ways this can be done. It can be done by moral suasion or can be done by law. This is what that's why I expect that if all radio stations can come together. I know there's an umbrella that's born, and I don't know how far, how well IBAN is functioning now. But the truth of the matter is that these are cases that are better handled by them. You know, because at the end of the day, if it becomes dog eat dog, so at some point everybody will get scared. Everybody will be affected. The question you raise is something that I've met in several areas, and it's not good for the industry. There must be standards, and I don't. If you guys can have an association of radio stations or something like that, that can begin to use moral suasion to do this, it will help. Or if you're able to get bond or IBAN to leverage on their relationship with government to be able to bring a law to bear on this, it will help. But truth of matter is, from where I'm sitting, I don't see any solution, any serious solution to it soon, because everybody's just doing their thing the way they want it done. And it's not going to be good for the industry. And let me also quickly add that it's not limited to your industry alone. It's something that is pervasive within the advertising industry, within the marketing communication industry, within the larger industry outside the ones I mentioned. And I run away from saying this, that maybe it's a Nigerian issue, unfortunately.
Wow.
But the best thing to do,
Oh my God.
like I said, is if you are able, if radio station owners are able to come together and at least first try moral suasion to say, look, how do you when you charge 500 naira or 1,000 naira for as rate, or even for a 15 seconds commercial, or even for a 5 seconds commercial, how do you break even? So I'm not to talk about profitability. So these are things that the industry would have to handle. Personally.
Right, thank you, sir. I agree with you absolutely, if I may add, because it's more restoration that would work as far as I'm concerned. Really, it's more restoration. We have to agree to disagree and then come to a middle point in order for us to all gain. It seems as if it's really, really a dog-eat-dog thing. Okay, Mr. Chimawako, thank you for enduring me. I apologize.
Thank you so
Please go
much.
ahead.
Good morning.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olayiwola. Your presentation has been rich. There are so many insights inside, so many data points there. First of all, I just want to ask. First of all, I would love to get these slides you've just used for your presentation. That's the first thing.
You get it from Gwen.
Sir?
He's giving it an answer. I say you get it from Gwen.
Okay,
That's
no problem.
amazing.
Okay, thank you very much. So the second thing is that I'm a journalist. I do media consultancy now. So oftentimes during the campaign, I find myself having to buy slots across radio stations across the country. So I'm just wondering, where can I get data on, the audience reach, that kind of demographics, demographic data about, where can I get that kind of thing? Yes,
we have it, but it's not free.
I know, but I spend a lot of money buying slots anyway.
Send me a mail.
How do I get
tell you the cost? By email. Okay, go and give you. I don't want to.
Yeah, he has given you an answer. So I think Mr. Chima, if you don't have any other question, we'll do. Well, the answer is that he's going to answer you.
Thank you.
He just send him a mail, and he's giving you someone to contact, which is Gwen. She will give you all the details that would help you get to that which you're asking for. Thank you. Do you have any other questions, Mr. Chima? I'm particular about you because I wasted your time. All right.
Thank you very much. I'm okay.
Okay. Zoe Machunga, I can see your hand up. Please just do us this favor by asking straight to the point questions so that others. I have 3 other people after Zoe. Go ahead. Is Zoe there? I thought I did. Okay. Let me go to the next person. I didn't see the names, but please, if your hand is up, just unmute and go ahead. Let me try and get the names. I'm seeing 4 people. Please unmute. I can't find the names. That's why I'm having it. Okay, Kanem. Okay, Kanem Press. I guess a representative from there. Kanem Press. Kanem Borno. Are you there? Zoe Machuga, I can see your hand up. Please unmute or is it a mistake? The emoji is up, your hand. I'm seeing 4 people raising their hands, but no one is talking. So
don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Raise your question.
Yes, we're really hoping that everyone. Okay, I could also say Tukura. Tukura, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Right, excellent.
Hello, good afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Oga Afolabi, for the wonderful presentation, sir. Oga Tony, Oga Aro, Madam Koki, all our mentors and leaders. Thank you for the wonderful presentations, Mas and Sas. I want to ask, sir, I want you to help us at least educate me briefly, sir, on online radio stations, sir. although I don't know whether it is within the purview of our presentation today. Just briefly, sir. But because I have in mind this 2024 to add to our current press digital hub online radio. So, sir, looking at your very versatile presentation, I believe you are right person to give me at least a little nitty-gritty about online radio stations, sir. Thank you, sir.
Before he goes on, I think you have to, well, the BGL has to send you an invoice. Some of us are thinking, maybe you send an invoice because this is alone is big, and then you're asking for that, but it's just a joke. So,
Even
it's over to
snippet,
you.
no matter brief, please.
Okay.
For us at MPS, on online radio, when you say online radio, because you need to classify, you need to be very clear. Are you saying that radio stations that leverage on online alone, or radio stations that are running but are also putting their content online, or that you can listen to online?
Okay, are you there, Mr. Tukura? Or is it the same
Yes,
panel?
yes. Actually, late last year, during Wale Shoyinka amplifier conference that we had it at Sheraton in Abuja, I met with one of our guys, Albarka, I think, if I can remember. They have online radio stations, although it's unlike the traditional radio. It's not like daily something, but I think
I get your
they
point
operate
now.
either weekly or something like that.
I get your point now.
Periodically. Yes, sir.
I get your
Yes, sir.
point.
So I want to have enough knowledge before I want to venture it.
Well, I can only speak to whether we track or we do not. For us, online radio stations, we do not track for now. But for radio stations that are running, but also have online platforms, we track. Does that respond to you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Much.
Okay, there's a question from Zoe Machunga. She attempted raising her hand. I think it could be the network. So her question is, okay, she's apologizing. She's not sure what's wrong with her mic. She said, I dropped a question earlier. She said, please, what can you say about the radio stations in the Middle Belt? What is your take on how they are doing? What can they do better, especially in Jos?
Incidentally, for the annual database that we track Plateau State. Then for the diaries, we track specifically Jos and environs. So we have information on that. But truth of the matter is, when she's asking a blanket question, if she's a little bit more specific, because we have results, we have performance, we have listenership for all the radio stations of in Plateau as we speak, we have.
Okay,
so
sir, can I just a little bit, let me just step in a little bit, because I have been worried about Plateau State, maybe because it's my state. I don't practice there, but I'm assuming I kind of understand what she's talking about. She's asking about the performances. Why does it look like, because the impact of Middle Belt media isn't felt across Nigeria? Could that be anything unprofessional that they're doing? I'm assuming that's what Zoe is saying. Sometimes we wonder what the Middle Belt media houses or radio particularly are doing, and we churn out very good presenters, professionally speaking.
No, the truth of the matter is that for us, we've been tracking Plateau State annually and monthly in the last 20 years.
Wow, that's good.
So I mean, and I know that advertisers and media agencies and advertisers patronize stations in Plateau State, at least the top ones.
Okay.
So if she's asking for the performance of stations by audience size, audience measurement by size, by target, by demographics, by psychographics, yes, we can provide that for 20 years if she wants.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Let me
At
just
a
read
cost.
some of the comments. Okay, let me just read some comments if there is a question so that I don't. He said at a cost. I think I heard him. At a cost.
Reggie,
So
Reggie,
Gwen seemed okay. Gwen seemed to have a lot of answers. Questions to answer here, or she
No
has.
problem.
She's a go-between for you and other people because some are asking for the slide. Some are asking for other things. So Gwen, you might as well give us information on how to, or drop a comment on how people should reach out to you in order for them to access that. If there's going to be some amount that will be paid, get ready, Gwen will answer. Okay, let me see if there's one more question before we wrap up. Is there any other
Reggie,
person?
just a moment, please.
Okay, sir.
Reggie, just a moment.
Go ahead, Mr. Tony.
Okay, like you mentioned, we have quite a number of people asking to get the slides, the recording and everything. I just want to assure them that this is being recorded and the product will be distributed. But even more importantly, they can join BGF to have access, direct access to our training programs. We don't do this only on Zoom, we do it regularly, even on the WhatsApp platform. So I've dropped the link there on the chat box. Anyone who wants to join BGF can do so using that link. You can do it through the website, and if you're having any problems, you can contact me. My contact number is there. So yeah, we like doing this. It is what we are about, empowering our members and promoting media excellence globally. We have members in a number of countries, at least a dozen countries. And we would love you to join us, not only to benefit, but also to help us. Because I see a lot of people here who are veterans, who have paid their dues in this our profession. I will be too glad to have you help us train those that are upcoming. Because we also have a lot of upcoming people that we try to empower with these sessions. And there was actually another question dropped by Zoe, and I think it's important because it has to do with target audience and feedback. She says, can one use the number of call-ins from a phone-in program as feedback? Can you use that as your kind of rating? And I know where Zoe is coming from. I'm at the moment doing a digital marketing course with Zoe, and only yesterday our instructor was telling us about all of these things. Audience engagement, they need to have emotional connection. You build a buyer persona, which is also the same thing as know your listeners and everything. I think that is where she's coming from. Mr. Afolabi, can you use a phone-in program as measurement?
Well, yes, you can, but it's very limited in terms of standard research acceptance. Because as you may know, in research, there's what you call margin of error. That's one. Then two, in all researches, there are structures. There are what you call universe, sample size, and so on and so forth. These are things you need to follow so that you can now be able to project whatever result. Even if you are talking to 50 people, or 50 people are talking to you, and they are well structured, or if you like, well stratified, then you can project those 50 to population, and your margin of error will still be within acceptable limits. But that doesn't, what she's talking about, it doesn't quite follow. But but the good thing about what she asked is that it's a pointer. When you talk about data, what exactly is data? Data is broken down. Data is information collection. Whether it's now standardized or not, or not standardized, is still the basis is information collection. So what she said is can be used to a limited extent, because it can be pointers to something, or it can be the bedrock on which you leverage a more structured study. I hope I'm clear.
Yeah, Mr. Tony, are you clear? Do you? Okay, maybe the line, the network
Zoe,
lost. I'm hoping that Zoe has gotten her answer. I'm hoping that she got her answer. Okay, on that note, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for giving me the opportunity to be on their faces. This wonderful morning since 11 up until now. I want to particularly say thank you to the BGL family. Indeed, the BGL is worth joining, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't joined BGL, please do so. If you really are a radio or television or broadcast personality that needs to add some value to yourself, I think BGO is one place that you would never miss, joining. So I'd like to say thank you to Gwen, to everyone that has been on this call, particularly to the resource person himself. I'm just meeting him for the first time, and I feel like I have met him all my life. I'm grateful, and I'll relinquish the microphone back to Mr. Tony for the vote of thanks. Once again, my name is Regina Crisobudo, aka Reggie Fanash. God bless you.
Thank you, Ray. Let me start by thanking you very much for doing this with all the finance. You never disappoint, and yeah, it went smoothly, and I'm sure we all gained a lot from this. I see my sister Pauline Budada, I still appreciating Mr. Afolabi, and I'll take a cue from her and say again, thank you very much, Mr. Afolabi, for giving all of these very quality information, gratis, free of charge, no cover. Thank you so much. Lady Gwen opened the she opened the door to Mr. Afolabi's professional treasure, if I may say it like that. She linked us with him and said to us, like, look, that man, if you don't get him, then you've not started. And I think everybody agrees. I want to thank everybody. The easiest way to do a vote of friends is to actually vote. So let us just vote. If you enjoyed this session and you want to say thank you to Mr. Afolabi, say where are the people?
Hi.
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 I like it.
Let's
Hi.
have it. So, thank you,
Let's
Hi.
have
everybody.
it.
Thank you so much.
Can
It's
I have
very
it?
serious. Very important that you can actually join us to help us, like I said before, not just to gain from us, to help us do this even more impactful. Thank you to the station owners, choosing the person once again, Pauline Bugaga, part of it, and so part of it. Dr. Emeka Adipo is always supporting us. I can't name everybody, but thank you, everybody who's here. God bless you.
Okay, bye, everybody. See you again.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
See you
Thank you.
again. All right.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Thank you for a
Welcome. I
job
like
well
that
done.
voice.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
ma'am.
much.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful one.
And thanks to go,
Thank you so much.
thank you,
You're
Goma.
welcome. Oh, Garo, so good to see you again. Oh, he's left. Okay, he's here.
Please leave your email addresses with Lady Gwen. You may leave your email addresses with Lady Gwen to get all of the information you need.
I wish Zoe is here. I would have. Zoe, can we just meet? Maybe I'll find your contact soon.
And Marigold, for more tutorials information, make you carry join BGF. Now there be Ogbonge people there for this broadcasting matter. No miss
Abeg, show
am.
me the way. Show me the way I go join. Show me the way I go join.
No worry,
I don't
Shebi,
carry the
I
link
don't
put
collect
for
your
I carry the
number.
link
We
put
go,
for the
we
now.
go just join you
Okay.
inside the thing. Since you don't already there,
Okay.
you go just put your
Okay.
number
Okay.
inside. You go join.
Better. Better. Thank you very much, ma.
You're welcome.
All right, ma.
Bari buwa ne ola boy. Ni bu mama dia. Ai wari wa ha ne do kiss ko. Lu kai da wallahi wa garin mu.